There are many ways people listen to Vision, including DAB+ digital radio.
If you're in Greater Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane and have a digital radio receiver in your car or home, you'll find Vision Christian Radio on the station list. If you're visiting one of these cities and hiring a car, there's a good chance it will have a DAB receiver, and you'll be able to enjoy Vision with exceptional sound quality while you drive around. If you don't already own a DAB receiver, you'll find many models, including clock radios, at electronic retailers for under $100. To find out more about Vision on digital radio and whether you're within the broadcast footprint, see vision.org.au/DAB.
However, and wherever you listen to Vision, you can be sure that the announcers, programs and music will help you look to God daily. A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
This is Andrew McLennan, and on a Wednesday, we like to get our regular update from Ron Ross about Israel, Middle East and the war in Gaza. Ron, welcome.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning.
There's political turmoil in Israel as the government faces growing destabilising challenges.
Yes, Israel War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz arrived in Washington on Sunday for talks with senior American officials as he took off for the controversial trip. Reportedly against the will of Prime Minister Netanyahu, protesters in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem demonstrated against the government. Some were calling for the immediate release of the hostages being held by the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. Others were advocating for immediate elections. Echoing the call of the protesters, opposition lawmaker Avigdor Lieberman called for early elections, saying the government had reached the end of its path. All the while, Israeli soldiers continue to fight against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and tensions on the northern border with Hezbollah show no sign of subsiding. In his sixth term as Prime Minister, Netanyahu leads a government that's been caught up in a controversy since it was sworn in on December 29, 2022. In initiating a sweeping judicial reform, the coalition met sharp criticism and massive demonstrations, which came to a screeching halt when Hamas stunned Israel with the massive attack on October 7, 2023. In response to the attack, Israel launched a war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Days into the fighting, Gantz, a former military chief and head of the second largest opposition party, joined the government. The aim was to project a unity at a time when Israelis were craving quiet on the home front. That unity has begun to unravel as the coalition faces a myriad of domestic and internal challenges. Netanyahu's approval ratings have plummeted.
And the terrorist group Islamic Jihad is also calling for a month of terror during the Islamic religious observance of Ramadan.
Yes, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is calling for Ramadan to be a month of terror and seeks to escalate attacks in both the West Bank and Gaza. In a recent speech, Abu Hamza, the spokesman for Al-Quds brigades, said he wants Arab countries in the region and pro-Iranian groups to continue to unify various arenas and fronts against Israel. This is the latest indication that terror groups plan to seek an escalation in hostilities over the next month. Ramadan begins on March the 9th and goes through to April 8. Hamza's remarks were published by Beirut-based Al Mayadin news channel, which is pro-Iranian and frequently highlights Hamas and Hezbollah attacks.
And in a rare tactical maneuver, Israeli forces conducted a raid into Ramallah, their headquarters of the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah, this is the first. Israeli forces launched a major raid into Ramallah, the administrative capital of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, resulting in the death of a 16-year-old boy and marking the largest operation in the city for years. Palestinian sources confirmed the incident early on Monday. The raid saw a significant deployment of Israeli military vehicles into Ramallah, home to President Mahmoud Abbas's headquarters, sparking confrontations in the Amari refugee camp. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported that 16-year-old Mustafa Abu Shalbak was fatally shot by Israeli forces during the incursion. According to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, the violence erupted as Israeli troops stormed the camp, engaging with local youths and firing live ammunition, which ultimately led to Abu Shalbak sustaining wounds to his neck and chest. The incident is part of a broader surge across the West Bank, coinciding with the ongoing conflict in Gaza.
And Israeli children are feeling the impact of the war too.
Yes, and it's something we should consider. We're always on about the boom boom and the bang bang, but the stress effect on the citizens is also to be taken into account. Israel's Child Welfare Committee presented to Israel's President Isaac Herzog data regarding the effects that the October 7 massacre and the ongoing war had and is still having on the children in Israel. The Director General of the Child Welfare Committee, lawyer Vered Windman, said that the situation the kids were in during the first few months of the war shows us that in the test of protecting the kids, our country has failed. Windman also said the data points to the tragic correlation between the weakness of universal public systems and the magnitude and depth of implications on the children's situation. Windman added that first of all, we give voice to Ariel and Kafir Bibas, who are still hostages of Hamas, and to the 38 kids butchered on October 7. She also said that only comprehensive strategic change of policies regarding our kids can change the state and save the kids and us.
And evangelical Christians stand out as Israel's best friends, according to All Israel News.
Yeah, evangelical Christians have historically stood by Israel as some of the most ardent supporters of the Jewish people and the Jewish state. Since the war broke with Hamas, the invasion of Israel on October 7, many evangelicals have participated in solidarity tours to the nation's southern communities. They've met with families of hostages and raised funds for humanitarian relief efforts. As global support for Israel appears to be dwindling the longer the war goes on, evangelicals continue to jump to defend the country's cause in a war that it didn't start. They're making a moral, material and spiritual difference on the ground, spreading influence that spans from media outlets to political circles. This is why the special connection between evangelicals and Israelis was very much evident at this year's National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, Tennessee. It was reflected not only as a subject of discussion in the various panels and on-stage speeches, including a keynote address by former U.S. President Donald Trump, but also in the significant attendance of Israeli government officials and representatives of Israeli organizations. Israel's foreign ministry arranged a private screening of the 45-minute footage of the Hamas atrocities from October 7.
Finally, Ron, you are convinced that only God can save Israel out of the mounting crisis that it's facing now.
Yes, we're facing. I'm really concerned that we understand the power of prayer, and I think only divine intervention can save Israel from a crisis. The left-wing administration in the USA is strongly opposed to the right-wing leadership in Israel. Joe Biden and his team are positioning for elections in November. He's talking up a two-state solution, which Netanyahu will never accept. Interesting that Iran this week also opposed a two-state solution, calling for the total annihilation of Israel. Last January, UN relief workers were found to be part of the Hamas network. The UN has also declared the two-state solution is the only pathway to peace in the region. Now consider this. Israel geographically is a third the size of Tasmania. If it's divided again in size, it's a very small target for the Iranian-sponsored terror groups fully equipped with the latest weapons. Netanyahu finds himself in a vice. Loved ones are calling for the release of hostages. Hamas can't even confirm how many are still alive or where they are. They are now confirmed reports from the UN of rape and brutality on October the 7th. Netanyahu says he wants to remove all the Hamas leadership. But Andrew, I don't believe that will silence the ongoing terror. New leaders will come, and the Iran policy to wipe Israel off the map will be the banner of Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, and all who have been indoctrinated to continue the fight. I was living in Jerusalem when Yasser Arafat set out to unite the Arab factions. He created one common enemy, Israel. Israel is in crisis. I met often in Israel with that Rabbi Shlomo Rishkin, and he said to me over and over again, Israel cannot survive without the support of Christians. And I firmly believe that, and I pray for God to intervene.
Yeah, amen. Well, Ron, once again, thank you for a very in-depth report from Israel, the Middle East, and the war in Gaza.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.